You've been in a relationship or a close friendship for months, maybe years. Everything seemed normal at first. Laughs shared over coffee, long conversations that lasted late into the night, moments where you felt truly seen. Then, slowly, things begin to feel different. A message goes unanswered a little longer than usual. A compliment you once received turns into a shrug. And when you try to talk about it, you sense a coolness, a distance that wasn't there before. You can't put your finger on it, but there's a subtle tension in the air, like walking on a floor with loose boards. You never know when it might give way. You begin to replay interactions in your head, questioning if you overreacted, if maybe you're imagining things. And yet, deep down, you feel the truth. Something is off, and it's not just a passing mood. Someone who once brought warmth into your life is now quietly measuring, observing, and planning, and you're left to wonder what comes next. This is the moment when a simple thought can strike you. What is really going on behind the smile I still see? That question is the beginning of awareness, the first step in seeing the hidden signs before they manifest more clearly. As one wise person once said, "The quietest storms leave the deepest scars." Often it's not the loud arguments or obvious betrayals that do the most damage. It's the subtle, calculated actions that make you question yourself while someone else carefully controls the narrative behind your back. Understanding those quiet signs is not about fear. It's about reclaiming clarity, recognizing manipulation, and protecting yourself before it's too late. You might not notice it at first. A narcissist doesn't usually announce that they are planning to make you feel unsettled. Instead, it begins in the quiet, almost imperceptible way they interact with you. One day, they're warm, attentive, and engaging, and the next, something feels off. The smiles feel forced, the words feel measured, and the laughter you used to take for granted suddenly seems distant. It's not a grand confrontation. There's no argument, no accusation. There's just a subtle shift that makes you start questioning yourself. This calculated coldness is deliberate. Narcissists are experts at controlling the emotional environment around them. They understand that small, incremental changes can have a powerful effect on you without ever exposing them to criticism from others. They don't need to yell or storm out of a room. They simply withdraw little by little, like the tide receding, leaving you uncertain and off balance. The coldness can manifest in many ways. Maybe they stop responding to your texts as quickly, or they give you short, clipped answers when they used to be more engaged. Perhaps they avoid eye contact, or their body language seems closed off when you speak. What makes it especially confusing is that this change isn't always consistent. Sometimes they are affectionate or charming, but those moments feel different, calculated, almost as if they are reminding you of the warmth you once had while simultaneously showing you how far away it is now. One of the most painful aspects is that this coldness often makes you question yourself. You start wondering if you did something wrong. Did you upset them? Did you say something inappropriate? The narcissist relies on this self-doubt because it keeps you focused inward, analyzing your own behavior rather than noticing theirs. You may replay conversations in your mind, trying to figure out the why, but the truth is, their withdrawal is rarely about you in the moment. It's about strategy, control, and preparation. Over time, the subtle coldness can escalate. They might ignore your achievements, dismiss your feelings, or stop acknowledging important parts of your life. They may no longer celebrate milestones with you, or they may look past your successes as if they barely exist. You may even notice a kind of performance from them, moments of minimal attention or engagement that feel calculated to make you crave their approval or attention. The inconsistency is key. It keeps you guessing, never fully secure, and always hoping for the warmth you once felt. Another layer to this behavior is that it is often private. Publicly, a narcissist can appear charming, attentive, and even caring. Around friends, family, or colleagues, they might maintain the image of someone who is kind and reasonable. The coldness you experience is typically reserved for private interactions, which makes it even more confusing. If you try to voice your concerns to others, they may find it hard to understand because the narcissist's public persona remains intact. This duality is intentional. It protects their reputation while allowing them to manipulate you behind the scenes. It's important to recognize that this isn't a temporary mood swing. Everyone has moments when they're distant or preoccupied, but narcissistic coldness is different. It's consistent in its unpredictability, designed to destabilize your emotional equilibrium over time. They may pepper moments of warmth between withdrawals, creating a cycle of reward and punishment that keeps you engaged and unsettled simultaneously. This pattern is exhausting because it doesn't give you a stable baseline for understanding your relationship. Lastly, the subtle, calculated coldness is often a precursor to other behaviors. By withdrawing warmth and creating uncertainty, the narcissist sets the stage for future manipulation. It allows them to test boundaries, gauge your emotional resilience, and prime you for later acts of control or revenge. In many cases, by the time you realize what is happening, you're already deeply entangled in their emotional strategy, responding to their coldness rather than seeing it for what it truly is, a deliberate, manipulative tactic designed to influence your thoughts and feelings. In short, this coldness is not a sign of indifference or a passing mood. It is a tool, carefully and quietly employed. It is about control, about making you question your reality, and about setting up a stage where they can orchestrate future outcomes to their advantage. Understanding this behavior is the first step in reclaiming your sense of self and protecting your emotional space, because recognizing the strategy removes some of its power over you. You might notice it in ways that feel almost invisible at first. The narcissist doesn't always confront you directly. Instead, they find subtle ways to interfere with your plans, to disrupt your peace, or to create tension without ever appearing aggressive. These actions often feel like accidents, oversights, or minor inconveniences. But over time, the pattern emerges, and you start realizing that these coincidences happen far too often to be random. It could be something as simple as showing up late when you've asked them to be on time for an important moment, or forgetting to pass along crucial information, missing deadlines, or accidentally misplacing things that are important to you. At first, you might brush it off. Everyone makes mistakes, you think. But with a narcissist, these mistakes often feel intentional because they occur repeatedly and always at moments when you are vulnerable or relying on them most. One of the hardest things about passive-aggressive sabotage is that it's designed to make you doubt yourself. You might begin asking, am I overreacting? Maybe I'm being too sensitive? This is exactly what the narcissist wants. By keeping the sabotage subtle, they avoid direct confrontation while still causing frustration, stress, or embarrassment. You start to question your judgment and become preoccupied with interpreting their behavior, which gives them a quiet, ongoing sense of control over your emotional state. Sometimes the sabotage is social. A narcissist may make offhand comments to others about you, spreading rumors or misinformation that seem harmless at first. They might appear supportive or friendly in public, but find ways to undermine your reputation subtly. Perhaps they ask seemingly innocent questions about your personal life and later twist the information to make you look bad or create conflict. Because it's indirect, others might not see the manipulation clearly, leaving you feeling isolated and unsure who to trust. The narcissist also tends to exploit your vulnerabilities when sabotaging. If they know that a missed meeting, forgotten task, or failed plan will upset you deeply, they may time their actions accordingly. It's never chaotic or random. There's always a pattern based on what elicits the strongest reaction. They are studying your emotional responses, learning what frustrates, angers, or unsettles you, and using that knowledge strategically to maintain control or gain an upper hand. This form of sabotage often mixes with charm or innocence. They might apologize in a way that makes you feel guilty for being upset, or they may act like they had no idea their behavior caused harm. This duality keeps you off balance. One moment, you're frustrated or hurt by what they've done, and the next, they're acting sweet or remorseful, giving you a small taste of relief. That cycle of tension and reward keeps you engaged, constantly adjusting your reactions and questioning your own perspective. Over time, the emotional toll of passive-aggressive sabotage is significant. You may feel drained, anxious, or constantly on edge, anticipating the next disruption. The narcissist achieves this quietly, often without needing to raise their voice or confront you directly. Your energy and attention are consumed by trying to navigate their subtle attacks, while they maintain the appearance of normalcy or even goodwill. This can make you feel trapped in a cycle where it seems easier to tolerate the disruptions than confront them directly. One of the most insidious aspects of passive-aggressive sabotage is that it's cumulative. Each small act may feel minor on its own, a forgotten errand, a delayed message, a casual insult, but when added together over time, they can significantly undermine your confidence, stability, and sense of security. You may start to doubt your own abilities or feel like you're constantly stumbling, even in situations where you were once confident. This is exactly what the narcissist intends. What's important to recognize is that these behaviors are intentional, even if they are not overtly hostile. A narcissist often frames their actions in ways that protect them from blame, while subtly manipulating your reality. Understanding this helps you see that it's not random chaos or bad luck. It's a strategy. By identifying the pattern, you regain clarity and can protect yourself from the slow, insidious erosion of your confidence and peace. In essence, passive-aggressive sabotage is a quiet form of power. It's about controlling your environment without overt confrontation, creating tension, and destabilizing your emotional state while appearing innocent or blameless. Recognizing it is key because once you do, you can start setting boundaries, responding strategically, and refusing to be drawn into their cycles of subtle disruption. Awareness is your first step toward reclaiming your sense of control and protecting your own well-being. You might not even realize it at first, but a narcissist pays attention in a way that feels almost invisible. They observe your habits, your routines, the small details of your life that you might consider private or inconsequential. It could be the way you respond to stress, the moments when you feel vulnerable, or the people you trust the most. At first, it might feel like curiosity or casual interest, but over time, it becomes clear that they are collecting knowledge, like pieces of a puzzle that they intend to use later. This gathering of information often seems harmless on the surface. They might ask questions about your day, your friends, your work, or your family. They might take note of your preferences, your fears, or your weaknesses. At first, you may share openly because it feels natural in a relationship, but the narcissist has a purpose. They are learning what makes you tick, what triggers emotional responses, and what gives them leverage in subtle ways. It's not just about knowing facts. They are learning patterns of behavior. They watch how you react under pressure, how you handle conflict, and even how you celebrate achievements. They notice the small gestures, the way your voice changes when you're upset, the moments when you hesitate, or when you feel most exposed. These observations allow them to predict your reactions in future situations. When they know how you will respond emotionally, they can manipulate events or conversations to their advantage. One of the most insidious aspects is that this information gathering often feels entirely innocent. The narcissist may present themselves as caring or interested, asking questions that feel supportive. How was your day? Or, is everything okay? Can feel like normal concern, but it's part of a broader pattern. They are building a mental map of your emotional landscape, noting the places where you are vulnerable or where they can influence outcomes later. They also gather information from your past. Stories you've shared, mistakes you've made, or experiences that shaped your self-esteem can become tools in their hands. They may not use this information immediately, but it is stored and referenced when needed. They might subtly bring up something from your past at the right moment to provoke guilt, shame, or doubt. Because it's framed as a casual comment or a concern, it often catches you off guard and feels disproportionate, leaving you questioning why it matters now. Social dynamics are another arena where they collect intelligence. They pay attention to how you interact with friends, family, and colleagues. They notice who supports you, who challenges you, and who may be influenced by your opinions. This allows them to anticipate where they can isolate you, manipulate perception, or maintain a public image that benefits them while undermining your confidence. They are quietly mapping relationships, alliances, and boundaries, always calculating how to use that knowledge when it serves their interests. Another layer is digital and indirect observation. In today's world, many narcissists use social media, emails, or messages to track your behavior and gain insight into your thoughts or routines. Even casual comments or likes on a post can be interpreted as clues. They take note of what makes you happy, what frustrates you, and what causes emotional reactions. Over time, this accumulated knowledge becomes a toolkit for subtle manipulation, allowing them to push buttons without you realizing it. The purpose behind all this is control. By gathering information, they are essentially creating a manual on how to influence you. They understand your patterns, weaknesses, and triggers, which allows them to orchestrate situations where they can gain an upper hand. They may not act on this knowledge immediately, but when the right moment arises, they can use it strategically through words, actions, or even silence to steer outcomes in their favor. It's important to note that this behavior often feels like a natural part of connection, especially early in a relationship. We share details about our lives to build trust and intimacy, so it's easy to miss the calculated nature of a narcissist's attention. Over time, patterns emerge, and you may notice that the information they collect is not just for connection, it's for influence. Recognizing this is the first step in protecting yourself, setting boundaries, and reclaiming autonomy over your personal and emotional life. In essence, a narcissist gathering information is about preparation, strategy, and control. Every question, every observation, and every moment of seeming interest is an investment in understanding you deeply. By understanding this, you can start to see their behaviors not as casual curiosity, but as a carefully constructed system of influence designed to give them power in subtle and sometimes unexpected ways. One of the most confusing things about a narcissist is how differently they behave in private versus public. In private, you may experience tension, subtle sabotage, or emotional manipulation, but the moment you're around other people, they can transform completely. They may act charming, polite, attentive, or even caring, creating a stark contrast to how they treat you behind closed doors. This duality is intentional, and it serves a very specific purpose: to protect their image while maintaining control over you. This behavior often leaves you questioning your own reality. You might wonder, am I imagining things? Maybe I'm overreacting? Because others see only the public persona, your experiences in private can feel invalidated. Friends, family, or colleagues might comment on how wonderful or reasonable the narcissist seems, making you doubt your own perceptions. This is one of the reasons their charm is so dangerous. It isolates you emotionally, because your reality doesn't match the external one others witness. Public charm is more than just polite behavior. Narcissists often use it strategically. They smile, laugh, and engage warmly with others while simultaneously undermining you in private. This creates a kind of cognitive dissonance in your mind. You remember the warmth they show publicly, and you question the coldness or manipulation you experience alone. The contrast keeps you off balance, constantly trying to reconcile the two versions of them. The charm is carefully tailored. They observe how people react to them and adjust accordingly. Around colleagues, they might be cooperative and respectful. Around friends, they may be witty and engaging. Even strangers can receive the impression of someone trustworthy or generous. All of this creates a protective barrier, shielding their private behaviors from scrutiny and making it harder for others to see the manipulation you experience. This duality also serves as a form of control. When you see how skillful they are at presenting themselves publicly, it can amplify feelings of self-doubt. You might feel embarrassed to bring up private incidents, afraid that others won't believe you or will side with the narcissist. Over time, This can make you hesitant to speak up, reinforcing their power. The public persona is not just about image, it's about limiting your ability to respond or expose the reality of their behavior. Narcissists also use charm publicly to manipulate perception and maintain influence in social situations. They can position themselves as the victim or the reasonable party, subtly casting you in a negative light without ever confronting you directly. For example, if a disagreement occurs in private, they may describe it differently to others, framing themselves as misunderstood or wronged. Because they are charming and articulate in public, their version often seems credible, leaving you feeling unseen or misrepresented. This behavior can extend to social media as well. A narcissist may post about kindness, generosity, or joy, presenting an idealized version of themselves while their private actions contradict this image. The public charm becomes a tool for reputation management, allowing them to curate how others perceive them while keeping their private tactics hidden. This makes it challenging for anyone to connect the public image with the private reality, deepening your confusion and sense of isolation. One of the most subtle but powerful aspects of this strategy is the unpredictability. You can never fully anticipate when they will switch between private manipulation and public charm. This inconsistency keeps you emotionally on edge, always second-guessing your perceptions and trying to adjust your reactions. The uncertainty is deliberate. It strengthens their control by keeping you unsure of what is real and what is performance. Ultimately, the narcissist's public charm is a form of strategic masking. It allows them to maintain a socially acceptable image, gain admiration or trust from others, and protect themselves from accountability. Behind closed doors, this same person may be calculating, critical, or emotionally manipulative. By understanding this behavior, you can start to separate the public performance from the private reality. Recognizing the duality allows you to validate your own experiences and maintain clarity, even when their charm is convincing others around you. This public versus private contrast is not just a quirk, it's a tool. It's about influence, reputation, and control. When you understand that the charm is performative and intentional, you reclaim power over your own perception and reactions. You begin to see the patterns for what they truly are, and you can navigate interactions without being drawn into the illusion, protecting your emotional well-being in the process. A narcissist rarely acts without purpose. One of the ways they maintain control and power over others is by testing reactions. These tests are usually subtle, almost imperceptible at first, and often disguised as casual comments or actions. They might say something provocative, push a boundary slightly, or behave in ways that make you feel uncomfortable, all to see how you respond. The goal is not confrontation for its own sake, it's observation and calculation. These tests are highly strategic. A narcissist wants to understand your emotional thresholds, the points at which you become defensive, anxious, or reactive. By experimenting with small provocations, they gather information about how you process stress, disappointment, or frustration. Each reaction you display teaches them something about you, creating a mental map of your vulnerabilities. Over time, this knowledge becomes a powerful tool that they can use to manipulate or influence you in more significant ways. Testing reactions often starts subtly. They may make a seemingly harmless joke at your expense, ask a loaded question, or comment on a personal habit. At first, you might not even notice it as manipulation. You could simply feel a twinge of irritation or confusion, but that moment is valuable to them. They are quietly observing your body language, tone of voice, and the speed and intensity of your emotional response. Each detail is recorded, consciously or unconsciously, and used to inform future interactions. Sometimes these tests are relational rather than verbal. They might ignore you briefly to see how you react, arrive late to plans to gauge your patience, or withhold information to watch how you handle uncertainty. These actions are not accidents. They are carefully measured to provoke just enough reaction for observation without escalating into open conflict. The narcissist thrives in this gray area because it gives them insight while maintaining plausible deniability. One of the most frustrating aspects of this behavior is how it affects your perception of reality. You might begin questioning whether your reactions are reasonable. Am I overreacting? You might ask yourself. That doubt is exactly what the narcissist is counting on. By observing how you respond and whether you self-correct, they gain insight into your emotional resilience and boundaries. They are essentially performing a test lab on your behavior, measuring where influence and manipulation will be most effective. Public and private settings may reveal different strategies. In private, these tests might be more direct. They may press buttons or bring up sensitive topics. In public, the same tests are often disguised in socially acceptable ways, such as teasing or small provocations that others might see as playful or insignificant. This duality allows them to gather information in multiple contexts, learning how you behave under scrutiny as well as in private. Testing reactions is not limited to negative provocations. Narcissists may also offer compliments, gifts, or gestures of affection strategically to observe how you respond. Your level of trust, gratitude, or emotional openness is as revealing to them as irritation or anger. They are constantly analyzing which responses can be encouraged, exploited, or controlled. This continual observation helps them refine their understanding of you, strengthening their ability to predict and influence your behavior over time. The impact of these tests is cumulative. Repeated exposure can leave you feeling anxious, hyper-aware, or emotionally drained. You might start second-guessing your responses in everyday interactions, unsure of whether your reactions are correct or being evaluated. This constant self-monitoring plays directly into the narcissist's hands, giving them control not through overt force, but by shaping your behavior subtly and continuously. Recognizing the pattern is critical. Testing reactions is not a sign of carelessness or casual curiosity. It is a deliberate tactic to map your emotional landscape and establish leverage. Once you see it for what it is, you can respond with awareness rather than reflexive emotion. You can maintain your boundaries, decide which provocations deserve energy, and refuse to be manipulated by subtle tests. In essence, testing reactions is a quiet, strategic form of control. It is not about conflict. It is about observation, calculation, and understanding your emotional patterns. The narcissist uses your responses as data to guide future interactions, always seeking ways to maintain influence and predict outcomes. Awareness and mindfulness of these tests are your best defense, allowing you to preserve your autonomy and emotional stability while interacting with someone who thrives on subtle observation and manipulation. Understanding these hidden signs is not about paranoia, it's about awareness. A narcissist's actions, whether it's subtle coldness, quiet sabotage, gathering personal information, public charm, or testing your reactions, are all strategies to control, manipulate, and sometimes seek revenge in ways that are hard to spot. The more you recognize the patterns, the more you can protect yourself and your emotional well-being. It's important to remember that these behaviors reflect their need for power, not your worth. You are not overreacting or imagining things when something feels off. By noticing these signs early, you reclaim clarity and stop being drawn into their silent games. Awareness allows you to set boundaries, respond thoughtfully, and safeguard your peace without getting entangled in manipulation. Ultimately, understanding these hidden behaviors empowers you. It helps you see the difference between genuine connection and calculated actions. It gives you the strength to step back, protect yourself, and prioritize your mental and emotional health. Recognizing the patterns isn't about retaliation. It's about self-preservation, insight, and reclaiming your life from someone who thrives on subtle control.